Good morning. My name is Kelley Trombly-Freytag, and I'm a member of DuPage Unitarian Universalist Church. We want to welcome everyone this morning to our open and inclusive virtual community. As Unitarian Universalists, we hold that there are many spiritual paths to truth and meaning, and pledge to support one another as we explore these paths. We are so glad you were able to find us and join us for our live stream service today. Please check the church website at www.dupageUUchurch.org for updates. If you search under DuPage UU Church on Facebook, you will find a number of ways to be in community with us as well. Your Board of Trustees would like to invite you to come Zoom with your board today after the service. Join your Board of Trustees on Zoom the first Sunday of every month directly after the service at 11:30 for conversation and connection. We'd love to have you join us. The Zoom link can be found on the Members tab of our website and in the weekly church email. We would also love to have you join us today at noon for Science Sunday. Join our YouTube link that appears in the church website homepage, the same link you used to join this service. Next Sunday, we will again have our Zoom coffee hour. That Zoom link can be found on the Members tab of our website and in the weekly church email.
Good morning and Happy New Year. I am Steve Cooper and the Director of the Religious Education Program at our church. Today we begin our new theme for the month. It is imagination. Our faith talks a lot about using reason to analyze the world and using action to change the world. But today, I want to remind you that we also need to nurture our imaginations so we can dream up new worlds. Every idea is born from your imagination. Your thoughts, your creativity, the actions you take in life, it all starts from one single moment, a realization. And then this moment is driven by your imagination. It is amazing to think about just how much your imagination can influence your life. But only if you work on maintaining it throughout your life. When we are born, we are beyond creative. Children have a much more active imagination than probably any adult you know. Give a child a small task that you've been having trouble with, and chances are they will quickly come up with a solution. And it'll be something incredibly simple and highly creative. When we are young, we do not limit ourselves in any way. We unleash our imagination in the most unusual ways. We have no limits, no fears, no prejudice. As kids, we have a different way of seeing the world, and it's often more optimistic, making it easy to use your imagination all the time. And as we grow up, this sadly fades away. A quote from the book The Little Prince sums this up incredibly well. All grown-ups were once children, but only a few of them remember it. After a certain age, you start setting limits to your imagination, and you box your creativity into a well-known pattern. Your creative process gets interrupted by everyday concerns and worries. And while it's unfortunately the reality, you can still hold on to your imagination throughout your entire life. You just have to remember.
I light our chalice today for Tinkerbell, and for all the children dreaming of Neverland that believe in fairies. 2020 was a tough year for everyone, yet the flame of our chalice flickered as a beacon of hope, just like Tinkerbell. Let's not let this flame of hope flicker out as we start 2021. Do you believe? If you believe, clap your hands. Don't let our flame die out.
Please join us now in singing hymn number 347, Gather the Spirit.
Projector is not on.
join me in our unison affirmation and our sung affirmation.
Love
is the spirit of this church, and service its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. From all who dwell below the skies, let songs of hope and faith arise. Let peace, goodwill on earth be sung, through every land, by every tongue.
Now, I tend to categorize imaginary world books into two styles or genres. The first being that the story starts in the imaginary world as if it were the norm. This would be books like The Hobbit or Lord of the Rings, or many futuristic sci-fi books. The other style is when the story starts in the ordinary world, much like our own, and suddenly the main character is thrust into an imaginary world. It can happen when a tornado rips through your farm, or while hiding from your siblings in a wardrobe closet. Or it could be in the form of a nanny flying into your yard holding an umbrella. Or while chasing a rabbit down a hole.
Alice was beginning to get very tired of sitting by her sister on the bank and of having nothing to do. Once or twice she had peeped into the book her sister was reading, but it had no pictures or conversations in it. And what is the use of a book, thought Alice, without pictures or conversations? So she was considering in her own mind, as well as she could, for the hot day made her feel very sleepy and stupid, whether the pleasure of making a daisy chain would be worth the trouble of getting up and picking the daisies, when suddenly a white rabbit with pink eyes ran close by her. There was nothing so very remarkable in that, nor did Alice think it so very much out of the way to hear the rabbit say to itself, oh dear, I shall be late." When she thought of it over afterwards, it occurred to her that she ought to have wondered at this, but at the time it all seemed quite natural. But when the rabbit actually took a watch out of its waistcoat pocket and looked at it and then hurried on, Alice started to her feet, for it flashed across her mind that she had never before seen a rabbit with either a waistcoat pocket or a watch to take out of it. And burning with curiosity, she ran across the field after it, and fortunately was just in time to see it pop down a large rabbit hole under the hedge. In another moment, down went Alice after it, never once considering how in the world she was to get out again. The rabbit hole went straight on like a tunnel for some way, and then dipped down very suddenly, so suddenly that Alice had not a moment to think about stopping herself before she found herself falling down a very deep well. Either the well was very deep, or she fell very slowly, for she had plenty of time as she went down to look about her and to wonder what was going to happen next. First, she tried to look down and make out what she was coming to, but it was too dark to see anything. Then she looked at the sides of the well and noticed they were filled with cupboards and bookshelves. Here and there she saw maps and pictures hung upon pegs. She took down a jar from one of the shelves as she passed it. It was labeled orange marmalade, but to her great disappointment, it was empty. She did not like to drop the jar for fear of killing somebody underneath, and so managed to put it into one of the cupboards as she fell past it. Down, down, down. Would the fall never come to an end? "I wonder how many miles I've fallen by this time," she said aloud. "I must be getting somewhere near the center of the earth. Let me see. That would be 4,000 miles down, I think. For, you see, Alice had learnt several things of this sort in her lessons in the schoolroom, and though this was not a very good opportunity for showing off her knowledge, as there was no one to listen to her, still it was good practice to say it over. Yes, that's about the right distance, but then I wonder what latitude or longitude I've got to. Alice had no idea what latitude was, or longitude either, but thought they were nice, grand words to say. Down, down, down. There was nothing else to do, so Alice soon began talking again. Dinah will miss me very much tonight, I should think. Dinah was the cat. I hope they'll remember her saucer of milk at tea time. Dinah, my dear, I wish you were down here with me. There are no mice in the air, I'm afraid, but you might catch a bat, and that's very much like a mouse, you know. But do cats eat bats, I wonder? And here Alice began to get rather sleepy and went on saying to herself in a dreamy sort of way, do cats eat bats? Do cats eat bats? And sometimes, do bats eat cats? For, you see, as she couldn't answer either question, it didn't much matter which way she put it. She felt that she was dozing off and had just begun to dream that she was walking hand in hand with Dinah and saying to her very earnestly, now, Dinah, tell me the truth. Did you ever eat a bat? When suddenly, thump, thump, down she came upon a heap of sticks and dry leaves, and the fall was over.
Please join us in singing hymn number 128 from the Gray Hymnal, For All That Is Our Life.
For all that is our life, we sing our thanks and praise. For all life is a gift which we are called to use to build the common good and make our own days glad. For needs which others serve, for services we give, for work and its rewards, for hours of rest and love, we come with praise and thanks. For all that is our life, for sorrow we must bear, for failures, pain, and loss, for each new thing we learn, for fearful hours that pass, we come with praise and thanks. For all that is our life, for all that is our life, we sing our thanks and praise. For all life is a gift which we are called to use to build the common good and make our own days glad.
Now we are at the point in the story where we realize we're not in Kansas anymore. As Becky reads the reveal of this new world, close your eyes and imagine that you're experiencing Oz and its people for the first time. Allow your imagination to reach further than what is described. The only limit is your imagination itself.
She was awakened by a shock so sudden and severe that if Dorothy had not been lying on the soft bed, she might have been hurt. As it was, the jar made her catch her breath and wonder what had happened, and Toto put his cold little nose into her face and whined dismally. Dorothy sat up and noticed that the house was not moving, nor was it dark, for the bright sunshine had come in at the window, flooding the little room. She sprang from her bed with Toto at her heels and ran and opened the door. The little girl gave a cry of amazement and looked about her, her eyes growing bigger and bigger at the wonderful sights she saw. The cyclone had set the house down very gently, for a cyclone, in the midst of a country of marvelous beauty. There were lovely patches of greensward all about, with stately trees bearing luscious, rich fruits. Banks of gorgeous flowers were on every hand, and birds with rare and brilliant plumage sang and fluttered in the trees and bushes. A little way off was a small brook, rushing and sparkling along between green banks, and murmuring in a voice very grateful to a little girl who had lived so long on the dry, gray prairies. While she stood looking eagerly at the strange and beautiful sights, she noticed coming toward her a group of the queerest people she had ever seen. They were not as big as the grown folks she had always been used to, but neither were they very small. In fact, they seemed about as tall as Dorothy, who was a well-grown child for her age, although they were, so far as looks go, many years older. 3 were men and 1 a woman, and all were oddly dressed. They wore round hats that rose to a small point a foot above their heads, with little bells around the brims that tinkled sweetly as they moved. The hats of the men were blue, the little woman's hat was white, and she wore a white gown that hung in pleats from her shoulders. Over it were sparkled little stars that glistened in the sun like diamonds. The men were dressed in blue, of the same shade of their hats, and wore well-polished boots with a deep roll of blue at the tops. The men, Dorothy thought, were about as old as Uncle Henry, for 2 of them had beards. But the little woman was doubtless much older. Her face was covered with wrinkles. Her hair was not nearly white, and she walked rather stiffly. When these people drew near the house where Dorothy was standing in the doorway, they paused and whispered among themselves, as if afraid to come farther. But the little old woman walked up to Dorothy, made a low bow, and said in a sweet voice, "You are welcome, most noble sorceress, to the land of the Munchkins. We are so grateful to you for having killed the Wicked Witch of the East, and for setting our people free from bondage." Dorothy listened to this speech with wonder. What could the little woman possibly mean by calling her a sorceress, and saying she had killed the Wicked Witch of the East? Dorothy was an innocent, harmless little girl who had been carried by a cyclone many miles from home. She had never killed anything in all her life. But the little woman evidently expected her to answer, so Dorothy said, with hesitation, "You're very kind, but there must be some mistake. I have not killed anything." "Your house did anyway," replied the little old woman with a laugh, "and that is the same thing. See," she continued, pointing to the corner of the house, "there are her 2 feet, still sticking out from under a block of wood." Dorothy looked and gave a little cry of fright. There indeed, just under the corner of the great beam of the house rested on, 2 feet were sticking out, shod in silver shoes with pointed toes. "Oh dear," cried Dorothy, clasping her hands together in dismay. "The house must have fallen on her. Whatever shall we do?" "There is nothing to be done," said the little woman calmly. "But who was she?" asked Dorothy. "She was the Wicked Witch of the East, as I said," answered the little woman. "She has held all the Munchkins in bondage for many years, making them slave for her night and day. Now they are all set free and are grateful to you for the favor." "Who are the Munchkins?" inquired Dorothy. "They are the people who live in this land of the East where the Wicked Witch ruled." "Are you a Munchkin?" asked Dorothy. "No, but I am their friend, although I live in the land of the North. When they saw the Witch of the East was dead, the Munchkins sent a swift message to me, and I came at once. I am the Witch of the North." "Oh, gracious!" cried Dorothy. "Are you a real witch?" "Yes, indeed," answered the little woman, "but I am a good witch, and the people love me. I am not as powerful as the Wicked Witch who ruled here, or I should have set the people free myself." "But I thought all witches were wicked," said the girl, who was half frightened at facing a real witch. "Oh, no, that is a great mistake. There are only 4 witches in all the land of Oz, and 2 of them, those who live in the North and the South, are good witches. I know this is true, for I am one of them myself, and cannot be mistaken. Those who dwelt in the East and the West were indeed wicked witches, but now that you have killed one of them, there is but one wicked witch in all of the land of Oz, the one who lives in the West."
This religious community exists by its mission as a fire exists by burning. But a fire cannot burn without fuel. And it is the time, the energy, the imagination, the vision, the creativity, the compassion, the love, and the financial support of the members and friends of this community that fuels our mission to nurture and sustain a welcoming, inclusive, and diverse liberal religious community that transforms lives and serves the world. Your support, the free and generous support of each and every member and friend of this community, is what fuels this community and its mission. And without your support, the flame of justice, community, and love cannot burn brightly to warm ourselves and be a beacon in a world threatened by division and fear. We will now take the offering. Thank you, Vera. It is time to gather. And there's something powerful about using our imagination to visit and create new places. It allows us to transcend our limit and escape from real life. Whether we realize it at the time, we also learn some life lessons while in a pretend world. So here we have a troll. And we can use our imagination and create a whole world for this troll. By creating and imagining a different world, we can escape from the world we are in, just for a bit, and get a break. We're going to seek out a troll world. Just pretend. It isn't that hard. You just need to ask yourself some questions. So close your eyes and answer these questions with your imagination. How will we find it? Use your imaginations to figure out a way to find the troll world. Do we shrink down to its size? Does it start talking to us? Do we follow it somewhere? Do we have to say special words? Now, what do we see in this troll's world? What kind of house would a troll live in? What do you think? A tree house? A tree hole? What kind of bed would a troll sleep in? What kinds of friends would a troll have? An owl? An elf? What would they say to each other? What kinds of things would they like to do together? What kinds of things cause problems for a troll? And how do they find solutions? What do they learn? And then how do we get back to our real world? Do we take anything with us? What will the troll be like in the real world? Each time we play, let's pretend with the troll. It will be even richer. And we are able to pretend and learn about some of our own problems and even learn about some situations just like we did in the troll world. We'll be able to take a little break from our own world and use our imagination. Please join us in singing hymn number 354 from our gray hymnal. We laugh, we cry, and we'll be singing verses 1 and 2. Last year, I did a service about Legos and the Lego movie. Legos are great for opening up the imagination. And the best is taking a Lego kit that you built and modifying it. For those of you that got Hogwarts for Christmas but really wanted Star Wars, here's your chance to let your imagination bloom. a long time ago on a platform 9 3/4. If you missed the Hogwarts Express, there's only one way to get to school, by the Hogwarts Millennium Falcon. To complete the Falcon, all the pieces were used from the Hogwarts Castle set, and some features include authentic stone-built Millennium Falcon, removable top to show interior, traditional Gothic features, holographic game table, and powered by the Wingardium Leviosa spell. Pictures do feature a lightsaber, not in the set, but wands are a good substitute. The Han Solo was also made from Professor Quirrell's head and reverse body with some stormtrooper hands and Professor Flitwick's hair. Legos are great for the imagination and can be done alone or with friends. And you can work together to solve problems and continue to invent new things. However, it has become difficult for people to play together with people outside their household bubble with the pandemic. Well, about 10 years ago, a computer simulation game became very popular with the kids of all ages, and it had similarities to Legos, but it was limitless in that you don't run out of blocks. Minecraft gives you a clean slate to work from, or you can decide if you want to start in a forest or an island, in the mountains, or any of the dozens of biomes. You can invite friends to visit your space and interact with you as you build new worlds. And you can set the game to survival mode, and you have to solve problems such as finding food and building shelter and using the materials you have available to make items and new materials. Or you can set the game to create mode, and you can make landscapes, buildings, towns, or cities till your creative needs are met. I didn't pay much attention to this when it came out, but a couple years ago, I found a UU curricula add-on called Churchcraft. This was a supplement that could be added onto the neighboring faith curricula for 7th and 8th graders. Why don't you run the video again? There we go. In this, we would start with a church-like building with several empty rooms. Each room would represent a different religion. As each religion is taught to the youth and they visit the place of worship, they would start adding things to the room that they would see being used in that religion and make the room look like what they might see when they visit. This gives the youth a hands-on and cooperative way to learn. I, however, did not implement this into the program because we were already doing a number of new things, and I was not familiar enough with Minecraft to feel comfortable launching it at the time. But last month, Minecraft came up in the Youth RE committee meeting as a possible way to re-engage our youth and give them a way to interact. It was an excellent idea and gave me reason to jump into the land of Minecraft. I first went in and played with building and demolishing. I could dig down in the ground or mine into mountains. I could make structures and had an endless supply of materials and types of materials. I could build in the sky. I could build on the water. And once I felt like I had reached novice level, I decided it was time to build our church. Since I'm barely a novice, I found that I needed to redo some of the areas and try them again. And I'm sure there's dozens of kids out there yelling at the screen right now because there's a better way to do this. but it is all about learning and imagining what it could look like. During our month of imagination, and possibly through the rest of the church year, if it works well, we will be providing supplement RE lessons using Minecraft. Each class will have its own private Minecraft realm with our church as its center to discover, create, imagine, and learn. I, of course, will continue to learn and will seek out knowledge from our youth, as will our teachers. And I have found that when I run into difficulty and I'm not sure what to do next, I ask myself, what would a child do? They are not afraid to be different and think differently. So when you allow yourself to use your imagination and get creative, you'll find that some of the biggest obstacles in your life had the easiest solutions all along. You'll find out that your mind is putting these barriers on your path. So no matter what you're facing, don't be afraid to take a different path than you'd usually take, and think outside of the box. Take a deep breath, ask for advice, see things from a different perspective. Albert Einstein once said, "Imagination is more important than knowledge, for knowledge is limited, whereas imagination embraces the entire world, stimulating progress and giving birth to evolution." Please join us as we sing the final two verses of hymn number 354, We Laugh, We Cry. My closing words are from the Reverend Michael Schuler. We have reached the end of this time for the gathering of memory and for letting the imagination play with future possibilities. We have enjoyed magic moments and edified each other. Shall it be concluded then? Or will this adventure, now commenced, continue? Our separate paths converging, meeting, merging in the unending quest for love more perfect, the joyous struggle for meaning more sufficient and life more abundant. Is this ending to be an ending, or merely prelude to new, more glorious beginnings? I pose the question. In your heart lies the answer.